I am always trying to find new information or new videos that I can create on YouTube. And I do call out to my viewers to suggest any ideas. One person did suggest the Argentinian elections, which I know absolutely nothing about. But I would like to share a story that I am trying to create at the moment. And it's all about a little old lady who lives across the road. I live in Cambodia and I have been based here for about 8.5 years, and I really do call it home. I've been based and living and working in Asia ever since 1993, and we sort of know some of the stories of Cambodia. Now, let me just give you a little bit of history first of all, that Cambodia used to be a huge empire, and you can see from the map here how big it is. It's colossal. Nowadays, in the 21st century, this is the state of Cambodia, and you can see like it's quarter of the size. I think it was 1967 till 1975, there was a civil war here. And unfortunately, at the time, there was a population of 5 million people, and around about 2.2 million people lost their lives during this revolution between the Kingdom of Cambodia and the communists of this country. And I'm sure you've heard of the movie The Fields. There's another one that came out quite recently, within the last 3, 4, 5 years, directed by Angelina Jolie, called First They My Father. I'm omitting words because of the YouTube censorship related to this. I have to be as very delicate as possible, where they gave you what happened to a family in the capital of Phnom Penh at the time and how they survived. The story goes on and on. I think a lot of people know about it, but also they don't really know the history about it. And at the same time, just across the way, you were having the conflict related to the North and the South, the North in Vietnam, the North of Vietnam being communist and the South of being, you could say at that time, democratic, led by Ho Chi Minh. Now in Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh is considered an idol. In other countries, he's viewed as a dictator, but that's a story for another time. Here, during this time, the Red Army, or the Khmer Rouge, was led by the leader Pol Pot, which you again may have heard of during the situation. And the actual realism of how many people lost being people in that era, just by, not with the actual casualties of war, by the Khmer Rouge, the Red Army, just regardless of your age. And a lot of people were sent into the fields to do farming, and it just wasn't successful. Even Buddhist monks, etc., etc. Again, I would highly recommend on YouTube, on Netflix, to watch a movie called First They My Father. It's a graphic one, you could say, like the movie that you may have seen in the 70s or 80s called The Fields. What has this got to do with the old lady next door? Well, she is a survivor, and I sort of asked Sophie, my lovely girlfriend, my partner, whether she would be willing to talk related to the whole situation, and whether she would be able to talk over the whole situation. She unfortunately did lose her mum and dad over this conflict. I really don't know how old she is at the moment. I could possibly say in her late 60s, early 70s. I don't know with that. But I think it would be really interesting if we can get the translation done by my beautiful partner Sophie. It's not going to be the best translation in the world, but you can get a first-hand experience of what it was like during 1967 to 1975 and afterwards as well, because there were some other small situations which happened during or after the situation. I'm saying situation quite a lot. Of course, I would have to check the legality of it and whether I would be allowed to do this. Now, you could say it's the same for people living in Thailand, for example, that they can't really talk about the king, the good and the bad. It's something that is just not talked about. Here, I'll have to do a little bit of research if we can. And if not, then I apologize right here and right now. If we can, and everything seems feasible, and it is history, and we have to have an open mind from history. We have to learn from history. In that respect, that's what I want to do. But it's asking, firstly, the lovely old lady who lives next door, whether she would be willing. And then obviously she doesn't speak English, so we'd have to do a translation through Sophie, and let's see how it goes. I think personally it would be fascinating. Years and years ago, I was in Vietnam in 1988 to 1989. I was in Hanoi. I was the second person, foreign person, to speak on the Vietnamese radio after a foreign person, after, I've forgotten her name, a really famous person who actually went to Hanoi and speak to people on the radio during the Vietnamese War. I was the second, but that's how strict it was. But I'm going off topic there, but how to say, I did actually speak to someone who was from North Vietnam, and he was a soldier in the army fighting the South and the people from the United States. Now, I do know that I have some veterans here who were in Vietnam, and it was a horrendous kind of situation. I'm not going down that path, but what I like to do is find two sides to the story. Every story has two sides, the good and the bad, or the bad and the good. It depends what you have to look at it. And I will do this in an objective way, as I usually do. You can like it, you can disagree with it, etc., etc. But this is what I did years and years ago, before YouTube and the internet really came out. And this is what I'd like to do now, to give you a survivor's story. I think it will be fascinating. What do you think? Please leave some comments in the section below. God bless.